Moving on to number 14. A boat costs X dollars, and this cost is to be shared equally by a group of people. In terms of X, how many dollars less will each person contribute if there are 4 people in the group instead of 3? So let's take a look at this question and think about it. Basically, what they want to know is, say you were going to the store with a group of people to buy a bag of cookies. If you brought 4 people, you would take the total price of that bag of cookies and divide it by 4. If there were 3 people in the group, then you would take the total cost of that bag of cookies and divide by 3. Well, when you have 3 people are going to pay more individually than 4 people for that same bag of cookies. So all we want to do is just find out what the difference is between the group of people that would pay for that bag of cookies if there are only 3 versus 4. So let's take a look at the steps. The split for 4 people would be X over 4. And the split for 3 people would be X over 3. So we want to find the difference between X over 3 and X over 4. So X over 3 minus X over 4 equal the answer. Well, we can't just subtract those 2 terms because they're fractions, so we need to find the common denominator. So the common denominator of 3 and 4, the least common denominator I should say, would be 12. So X over 3 is equal to 4X over 12, and X over 4 is equal to 3X over 12. So when we subtract those fractions, we get 4X over 12 minus 3X over 12. That's equal to X over 12. So your answer would be A. Moving along, number 15. If y equals 2x plus 3 and x is less than 2, which of the following represents all the possible values for y? All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the max possible value for y. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to plug in 2 to the equation. So when I plug in 2 into the equation, I get y is less than 2 times 2, which is 4, plus 3, which is 7. So y has to be less than 7. That's the max value. So based upon that knowledge, we know that we can get rid of a few answer choices. We can get rid of answer choice B because we know that y has to be less than 7. Y can't be greater than 7. So in step 2, I'm going to take a look at answer choice E because I know that y has to be less than 7. And in that answer choice, they give me the value as y is less than 7. But I also want to find out if y necessarily has to be greater than 5 in order for x to be less than 2. So I'm going to take the number 4, which is less than 5, and I'm going to see if after plugging in 4 for y, if x is greater than 2. I get 4 is less than 2x plus 3. I subtract 3 from both sides. And I get 1 is less than 2x. I divide by 2 on each side, and I get x is less than 1/2. So we know that answer choice E does not work out for us because if I plug in the value of 4 for y, I still get a value of x being less than 2. So the equation still holds true. So I know that y is less than 7, and I can cancel out the other answer choices because I know that y doesn't have to be greater than 5, and I know that y doesn't have to be just less than 5 because y is less than 7. We found that out in the first step. So your answer would be A, y is less than 7. Moving on to number 16. The graphs of the functions f and g in the interval from x equals -2 to x equals 2 are shown above. Which of the following could express g in terms of f? So let's just look at the graph. Me personally, I would look at the origin, and I would say, or I would see that when f of x is at 0, g of x is at 1. So the difference in the two graphs is a value of 1. So based upon that, I would select B as my answer, which is f of x plus 1. Moving on to number 17. In the figure above, a shaded polygon which has equal sides and equal angles is partially covered with a sheet of blank paper. If x plus y is equal to 80, how many sides does the polygon have? All right, let's take a look at the steps. The sum of polygon angles equal 360 degrees. So we know that this polygon, or the sum of all the angles within this polygon, have to equal 360 degrees. Now, similar to how we did a problem before, I think it was in the isosceles triangle problem. Notice in the question it says if x plus y is equal to 80 degrees. Well, if x is equal to y, so what two numbers that are the same when added equal 80? 40. So we know that x is equal to y, which is equal to 40 degrees. So there's 360 degrees total in the polygon. Each angle has to be 40 degrees since all the angles are equal to each other. So if we divide 360 by 40, we're going to get the total number of sides, which would be 9. And B is your answer. What would be the answer if x plus y is equal to 10 degrees? Each angle would have to be 5 degrees, so the answer would be 72 sides. Now I want you to try to draw a polygon that's 72 sides. I'm just joking. All right, let's move on to number 18.